Hello viewers, I am Bhushan Jalali from Nancy Foundation. So we are starting for UPSC Civil Services Examinations uh, courses for civil services for economy. So today we are starting a fresh course for the year who are appearing in 2026. So today is the first session for aspirants for UPSC Civil Services examination with regard to economy subject. So today our first session comprises of economics introduction. So in this introductory session we will be covering about definition of economics, what is the difference between economics and economy, what are the challenges of economy, what is network in economy, and what are the sectors of Indian economy. These all basic things we'll be covering today. So let us begin with definition of economics. Economics has so many definitions. There are n number of definitions from different economists. Some believe that economics is a social science concerned with the production, distribution and consumption of goods and services. Some economists say economics is a subject dealing with the study of scarce resources and how to gratify various needs and wants of the people. But modern economics says that economics is a study of the subject to know the skills, to learn the skills of how to study, how to analyze, how to interpret various reports, which includes poverty, employment, job opportunity, disaster management. All these things, they are also, the study of these things is also called economics. In a plain language, economics is the study of economic activities. Let me to be precise. Now the point is, what is economic activities? Simply, economic activities which involve profit, which involve loss, which involve earnings, which involves wages, which involves occupation, employment. All these activities, including the opportunities, the study of these things is called economics. Fine. The way we have political, social, administration respectively, we study the behavior of a man, human beings, with regard to politics, with regard to administration, with regard to sociology. So we have different subjects that we classify generally as an humanities. So economics forms part of the humanities. This is all regarding the definition of economics. So to repeat it, we can say in short, is the study of scarce resources of available on the earth, study how to distribute it. Secondly, how to ensure that the citizens or human beings are satisfied, are happy, and how to improve their living standards. That's all about the definition of economics. Now coming to one more point, that is called, what is the difference between economics and the economy? Economics and economy, this is theory and practice. What you study, what you read in schools, colleges, universities, That is economics. When you put these things into implementation, when you execute this into the practice, what evolves out of its execution, that is economy. So this is the more difference between economics and economy. So different economists have prescribed different theories, how the government, how the economy should run, how the economy should be organized. Uh, Among those, the notable are the Adam Smith. In the Wealth of Nations 1776, he published a book. He is still known as the father of the economics. Same way we have J.M. Keynes. Different economists have produced different books. So in practical, we should know that economics and economy is the theory and practice. What you study, what you read, what theories you propound, and when you put these into practice, implementation, what comes out of that, what is evolved out of its execution, that is economy. Now the next point is, what are the challenges of the economies? The challenge is the availability of goods and services required for the population. This is the challenge, only challenge, availability of goods and services. And the presence of supply network. It may be available in one pocket of the earth or one pocket of the country, but it may not be available on the other part of the globe or other part of the country. What network you have so that these are available to all the citizens, to all parts of the world. So these are the two challenges the economy has. So we see number one, availability of goods and services, especially scarce. Everything is in scarce nowadays because your demands and needs gets changed from day to day, from time to time. So how you manage this? How can you manage these are available? That is a challenge. And secondly, what network you have to take advantage of the availability wherever it is. Now next point is distribution of networks. When we talk of distribution of networks, it means that people want goods and services. How they will get it, what will be available to them, and how much, or whether they have to pay it or not. This is called distribution network. There are mainly three types of distribution networks. One is called state network, second is called market network, and third is mix of the two, state market. When we say it's a state network, what does it mean? It means that the goods and services are made available to the citizens against no payments. That earlier used to be with erstwhile Soviet Union and the erstwhile China, not today's China. Fine. That is called state distribution network. Their government makes it available to the people and people don't have to pay for it. We call that system as state network. Second is market network. Market network means the goods and services are made available in the market. People have to pay as per demand and supply of the market. If it is available, if there is a good demand, the people will make it, whether state or whether this private sector, they will make it and make available at the prices available in the market. So that is called market network, distribution network. Third is called state market mix, where there are certain goods and services which are being provided by the state without asking for any payment. But there are certain goods and services which are being provided by the market. Market means private sector people against prices against payment. So that is called state market mix. Now the point is, what should the state make available to the citizens without asking for any payment? There are two types of goods and services. One is called basic goods, or we also call them public goods. Please note these words. One is called basic goods, or we can call public goods. These are normally healthcare, sanitation, education, social security. These are the basic things what a citizen should get it. In certain countries, these are being provided by their respective governments. In certain countries, they were used to be provided by the private sector, which were 100% capitalistic countries. So now the point is that the basic or the public goods, they are to be, or they are provided in the state distribution network necessarily by the state. Second is called private goods, private good or private goods. That means those goods and services which are arranged by the private sector and the people can have it against payment. That is called private goods. So when we talk about the distribution network, we say we have three probabilities. One is state distribution system, where the state provides it without asking for any money. Second is market, that is private sector provides against on the basis of demand and supply principle against payment. And third is mix, partly some goods free of cost, some goods against payment. Now next comes to organizing an economy. How an economy should be organized. As I said earlier, we had Adam Smith, Scottish economist. He prescribes the philosophy that is normally called classical economic theory, or we sometimes call capitalism or free market economy. He prescribed that the economy should be arranged, organized on the basis of the principles of capitalism, or on the basis of free market economy, on the basis of classical economic theory. This is all one, using different words. So what does it have? What are the composition of these theories? Number one, under this classical or capitalistic theory, they said there should be laissez-faire. Laissez-faire, Laissez. Laissez-faire means there should be no intervention of the government with regard to the running of the economy, with regard to the fixing of prices, with regard to what should be manufactured and who will manufacture. This should all be decided by the market. Market, when you talk about the market, it means the people who will manufacture it, who will make it as per the demand and supply available in the market. This was his theory, Adam Smith's theory. And to be brief, you should always remember that when we talk about the theory, capitalism or free market economy, you should say that there is no government intervention. Number one. Number two, he said that the invisible hands of the market, they decide which goods should be manufactured and which goods at what prices. The word is invisible hands of the market. Invisible hands of the market, I can quote an example. Suppose during the time of this COVID, prior to the start of COVID, face masks normally used to be sold at just rupees 5 or rupees 6. The moment COVID was declared, there was a pandemic, the same face mask of the same material used to sell at 50 rupees, 100 rupees. So who changed the price? Who told the people to pay higher price? I purchased at 50 rupees face mask. Nobody told me. It was my need, it was my insecurity, it was my necessity. So that need, that sense which prevailed me, that is called invisible hands of the economy. So that in market economy, in capitalist economy, they say it is the invisible hands of the economy which run the economy. That is second principle. First principle, laissez-faire. Second is invisible hands of the economy. And third is distribution of labor. They say, as per the theory, that there happens distribution of labor. What does distribution of labor mean? Those people who are skilled, they will do only those type of jobs where one requires a skill. Or there may be some region in some particular area where some particular activity can be done. So that region will do only that activities. The same way the work will get divided, and this is called division of labor. And lastly, they say that capitalism promotes competition. Competition helps the market, competition helps the consumers. Competition helps in reducing the prices. Again, invisible hands. So when we talk about capitalistic, or we can say free market economy, we should remember that 4 points: laissez-faire economy, invisible hands, competition, and distribution of labor. So this marks one type of how economy can be organized. This was what Adam Smith said, and what subsequently it was practiced also. Second theory is, or second type of how you can organize the economy is as prescribed by J.M. Keynes. He too was one of the well-known economists of the world. He prescribed the theory which is normally called socialistic approach. He said that this capitalistic laissez-faire, this doesn't last for long. Markets doesn't exist always, or at some places markets are not available also. So what he prescribed, he quoted an example of New Deal program. New Deal program was a program it was a campaign rather, launched in America immediately after the Great Depression, World Depression, economic depression of 1929. Under this New Deal, what he campaigned: number one, give the basic necessities to the people. Basic means the basic goods, the public goods. He prescribed that we should provide these basic goods to the people. That he used the word relief to the people. Secondly is economic recovery, and the third is financial reforms. He prescribed that we should not be rigid in discretionary powers, fiscal discretionary powers. That means that fiscal deficits should not be 100% avoided. We should go for fiscal deficits even if we don't have much income, revenues. For what purpose? To meet the basic needs of the people. This proposal was accepted by then President of America, Franklin D. Roosevelt. He campaigned to the people after Great Depression, 1929 Depression. He campaigned on these principles. That is how the economy of the world, economy of the USA got recovered. So that is another type of economy. So we have two ways to organize the economy. One is purely capitalistic, and the second is to create socialistic, in the wide which the government is asked to spend money out of government resources to boost the demand. The way India too has been doing it. When there is a recession, when there is an economic slowdown, the government is extensively spending in infrastructure just to create demand. The same thing happened in USA. That is under called New Deal agreement. Fine. So what is second is narrow and third is narrower model. Narrower model is socialism, the coexistence of private and public sector. Now we have two words within the ambit of socialism, or we can say Karl Marx theory, that is communism and socialism. What is the difference between communism and socialism? Communism is where there is owner and execution 100% by the state. Fine. People don't have to pay for anything, but at the same time assets will be all in the name of state. That is called purely communism. Socialism is where goods are owned and operated by both state as well as private, but predominated by state. So that is socialism. So basically they are the same, but this all happened before 1985, because after this openness of the economy, people have now changed to mixed economies. And this communism is also called command economy, because we'll be reading these terms. So you should understand command economy means where there is 100% owned by the state and everything is provided by the state. Narrow and economic also is predominantly socialistic, with state dominating the total organization of the economy. While nowadays it is slightly reverse. Now for the last 8-10 years, more and more emphasis is being given on private sector, private capitalistic society. But again, this time also we have a mixed economy, but more dominated by private sector. Gandhian economics, what was that? He was in favor of decentralization to panchayats level. He was not in favor of that technology which would dismantle labor. Although he would say, okay, we can use the technology, but not that technology which will replace the labor. He laid emphasis on rural industries, rural artisans, empowering them. Now the point is role of state in economy. What can be the role of state in economy? Those role of state in economy, it can be as a regulator. It can be as a producer of private goods or producer of public goods. Fine. So as a regulator, state's role as a regulator is always preferred, because if the role of a regulator is given to a private entity, then he may use his powers, the private sector may use powers to the best advantage of their interest. So it is always suggested that the regulator should always be the government, to ensure that the overall policies are formulated and their implementation are executed. Secondly is role of a state as a producer. So state can be as a producer of public good as well as for capital good. For example, in India we have public sector enterprise. So we call them, there's this role of a state as a private good. So when they are making roads, bridges, airports, ports, so we can say that role of a state as a public good. When they are making some machinery item, aircrafts, railway coach, we can see them, they are role of a state as a private good. Now there is a debate what should actually be done. Since most of the countries nowadays in the world, they have gone for mixed type of economies. How much mixed should be? Should be 40 50 50 or 60 40 or 40 60? That is the secret of a successful or a non-successful or a delayed successful of any economy. For example, in Southeast Asian countries like Malaysia, Thailand, South Korea, Indonesia, they changed the mix of their mixed economy. They switched certain goods, manufacturing of certain goods from state to private sector. This made state free of certain responsibilities and the resources which they could invest in other public goods, which in turn helped the private sector. This resulted in a quick development of those states and at the same time reduction of poverty in those states. That is called East Asia miracle. At the time when World Bank and IMF was prescribing that people should go for the purely private sector economic theories, capitalist economic theories, they within their own limits they changed the ratio of their state and capital, which proved miracles. That is why it is called miracles. There was a robust growth in GDP. There was a good fall in poverty of the country. That is called East Asia miracle. So remember, when we talk of East Asia miracle, you must always remember that the key for that miracle was the management, the government of that economies. Those economies, they switched certain activities from public sector to private sector. This is what today people are thinking, that India has awakened very late. China started in 1985, India started in 1990, that too at a snail's pace. We should have gone a little earlier. So my point here is that whether we should go for state should be involved in manufacturing or producing goods or not, if yes, to what extent, that is the role of the state to decide. This is all I have to say. And secondly, when China, let me talk of China. China in 1985, in fact, they started this. What we did started in 1990. They started way back in 1989, effective way. But their mixed economy is a little bit different. How? They are still holding, where the state is performing like an capitalist. That is called Chinese socialism. Yes, China state with state capitalism. That is called state capitalism. Fine. And that capitalism where the government behaves like a capitalist, like a private entrepreneur to earn profits to meet their political gains. That philosophy is called Beijing consensus, because sometimes we may read it, what is Beijing consensus. In China, the state behaves like a private sector entrepreneur. Owner is state. Normally that they should not have the profit or motto. They have a profit motto. They have a motto which meets their long-term gains of the political mileages. That is called Chinese state economics. That is called Beijing consensus. Against that, we have Washington consensus. What does Washington consensus have? Washington consensus says there should be fiscal discipline, no fiscal deficit, no extravagance, expenditure should be curtailed, there should be tax reforms, interest rate liberalization should be there should be competitive exchange rate, openness of economy should be there, foreign direct investment should be there, privatization should be there. This is all comes under the aegis of Washington consensus. So you should be aware of what is Washington consensus and what is Beijing consensus. So accordingly, the countries are now changing their approach towards their organizing economy. In the same fashion, China did opening up economy, that they named that policy as an open door policy. China was brilliant. It was successful. Their mission was successful. That is why they are now taking head on with America. Second was erstwhile USSR. They also attempted the same principle of economic organization. That was called glasnost or perestroika. But that was miserably failed. That resulted in a disintegration of USSR. So always remember, when you write anything about the economics or the administration, it is the governance which also is very important. You may have good technology, you may have good resources, you may have good manpower, but governance, management is very important. They couldn't govern, they couldn't manage that restructuring, glasnost, that they used to call that glasnost or perestroika, which means restructuring of economy. It resulted in the collapse of the USSR. Third was India. India also undertook, although very late. India calls that as LPG, liberalization, privatization and globalization, which we started in 1990. But the problem is that we didn't do by choice. We did it by compulsion. Because at that time we didn't have any forex reserves to meet our import bills. So we were compelled to go adopt that policy. But even then, it is rated as a successful restructuring. When it is successful restructuring means restructuring of mixed economy, how much we should keep it for, what activity we should keep for private sector, which activities we should keep for state sector. This is all I had to share about the basics of the introduction of the Indian economy. Now, last but not the least, what are the factors of production of Indian economy or economics? These are 4 factors of production which result in producing goods and services. That is called land, labor, capital and enterprise. And enterprise sometimes we also call organization. So you should always remember, if you want to think about how India can improve, how any economy can improve, or how we can be more efficient, what is required for a better GDP, what is required for a good, we should have all these 4 things. One is called land, second is labor, third is capital. Capital means both money and technology. And fourth is enterprise. Enterprise means organization. There should be people who have the entrepreneurship, who are able to take risks, who are well able to manage the business. Not like USSR who failed, not like failed businessmen, which are successful businessmen like Tata's, Infosys, or like all these peoples. And we should remember that for land we always pay rent, for labor we pay wages, for capital we pay interest, and for enterprise we pay profits. These are the basics of this economic introduction. I hope this will help you in further understanding the rest of the programs. Any question you have, please do not hesitate to share on our website www.nancy.foundation, in where I have given my email as well as phone numbers. You can direct message me, you can send a voicemail. For any doubts clearance, you can always vent on me. Please do like it and subscribe it. Thank you very much.